Good morning, Impression Hall. We're coming to you on this 26th day of November. It is a Wednesday, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matters. Get to the stories that matter today. Former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque swiftly denied online rumors of his arrest by Dutch authorities. The claims, first raised by Senate President Tito Soto, were contradicted by Roque's Facebook post showing a November 25th boarding pass. Vice President Sara Duterte assures she is ready to assume the presidency if required. She stressed this is her constitutional duty as rumors of a coup plot against President Marcos persist. And the tropical storm Verbena has further intensified while over the Philippine Sea. And due to this and the convergence of the shear line and the northeast monsoon or Amihan, rains will continue in vast areas of Luzon and Visayas. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda, former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says he was not arrested, calling the circulating reports untrue and presenting his travel documents to prove it. Here's a report.
Rumors swirled online claiming that former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque had been arrested. Several social media posts alleged that the fugitive lawyer was taken into custody at his residence in the Netherlands. The supposed arrest was even raised during Senate plenary debates for the Department of Foreign Affairs budget.
Can you ask the DFA if they have news about the breaking news now that former Secretary Harry Roque has been arrested in the Netherlands? It's in the news. Check it out if it's fake news or whatever.
While it's in the breaking news, Mr. President, the DFA is still in the process of verifying as they've had no information from the Netherlands. We will revert as soon as it is confirmed po.
Despite the exchanges, the Senate adjourned without any confirmation from the DFA on Roque's alleged arrest.
Wala kaming nakuha confirmation. We were talking to the Philippine Embassy in The Hague. Yung binanggit nila na just in, we never got any confirmation.
Even the Department of the Interior and Local Government stated it has received no official communication confirming the reported arrest. Roque immediately denied the rumors in a Facebook post, saying he was not arrested and that he had a scheduled flight to Vienna, Austria on November 25, showing a copy of his plane ticket. In a separate interview, Roque clarified that the Dutch government booked his flight as part of his asylum request since his visa was issued in Vienna. However, he did not continue with the trip due to health reasons.
Unang-una, hindi po ako na-aresto. Voluntaryo po yung pagsama ko. Kasi nga masunurin ako. Kaya lang, nung tinanong ako, gusto mo bang lumipad? Siyempre, hindi. Meron akong 2 medical certificate unfit to fly. Kaya lang, akala ko wala akong choice. So nung tinanong ako, siyempre hindi. Pinababa ako kaagad. So wala pong arestuhan.
But questions remain. How was Roque able to travel abroad when the Pasig Regional Trial Court had already canceled his passport? According to the DOJ and the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission. Roque insists that the court order is not yet final and that he still has 15 days to file a motion for reconsideration.
Meron pa po akong 15 araw para mag-file ng motion for reconsideration at nagfa-file po ako ng motion for reconsideration.
The DOJ, however, maintains the cancellation is final and executory.
Pag may order na canceled na siya, di ba? Pag kinalat na natin yung impormasyon, hindi mo na magagamit yun. Because of the cancellation order, di ba? Wala nang epekto yun.
And joining us today to help us break that down, we have Attorney Gilbert Andres, an ICC accredited lawyer. Good morning. Welcome back to the program.
Morning, Gretchen, and to all your viewers of Morning Matters.
Okay. Former spokesperson Harry Roque has already said he is filing a motion for reconsideration and he has 15 days to a leeway for before the cancellation of his passport. What would you say are his chances of having that reconsidered? And also, what do you think are his remedies within the next 15 days?
Well, Gretchen, it's really difficult to unpack this because you will actually see here the interplay between domestic Philippine law, Dutch domestic law, as well as international law. Let's first unpack it from the viewpoint of Philippine domestic law. No? Well, there are remedies, but I think I will just leave that to Attorney Harry Roque because he is a lawyer himself. And I'm his lawyer for this matter. But yes, there's a 15-day period to file an MR. But as to the relationship of Dutch domestic law and international law, remember that the arrest warrant was issued by a Philippine court because of state sovereignty. But as to whether or not it's executable in the Netherlands is another matter because first there should be an extradition treaty between the Philippines and the Netherlands. And I checked the DOJ website. There's no extradition treaty between the Philippines and the Netherlands. So that's really the challenge. What will be done, I think, is a legal assistance or request for legal assistance based on reciprocity, but that is subject to the discretion of the Dutch government in accordance with their Dutch domestic law.
Okay, but in your experience over at The Hague, how does the Dutch government react to arrest warrants? Syempre meron nga po, gaya na sabi po ninyo, legal assistance, diplomatic courtesy, anong usual response nila pagka may ganyan?
Well, it involves a person and it involves the liberty of a person, then that's subject to judicial proceedings. And that's where the extradition treaty comes in. But in international law, extradition is really subject to a treaty. It's not subject to customary international law. And unfortunately, the Philippines and the Netherlands has no extradition treaty. We only have extradition treaties with 3 European countries. That's Spain, Switzerland, and Russia. Maybe this is also a point where the Philippines needs to sign and negotiate extradition treaties with many other countries, not just 14 other countries. Now, there's also the complication that there's an invocation here of the principle of non-refoulement, which is a principle under the Refugee Convention and the Convention Against Torture. So, if ever the Philippines will apply with the Dutch government for mutual legal assistance based on reciprocity, then that will be, the Philippines will have to argue. And the Dutch government will have to balance and weigh all of these factors. So that's really a complicated issue.
Okay, would the same situation be applicable to Austria? Because yun daw ang kanyang point of entry at sa latest na balita natin, yun ang sinabi ni spokesperson Harry Roque na pinabalik daw siya ng point of entry niya, which is Austria, at doon daw siya mag-apply ng asylum.
Yes, Gretchen, it will be the same procedure. So Austria will look at if the Philippines will actually make a request with Austria based on reciprocity, then Austria will again determine is there an extradition treaty. Since none, then it will be subject to reciprocity and it will be subject to its own discretion. So that's the interplay now of international law and Austrian domestic law.
Kumbaga hindi automatic na automatically enforceable. Oo.
Yes, Gretchen. And in fact, there were actually discussions about the Interpol Red Notice. Remember, the Interpol is really a cooperation agreement. So it doesn't mean that there's an international arrest warrant. But the Red Notice really means that because of the arrest warrant issued by a Philippine court, then there's a notice to all the 196 members of the Interpol. But as to how that will be actualized, how it will be executed by those 196 member states, it's subject to its own domestic laws and procedure.
Okay. Yesterday, we had Attorney Domingo Cayosa at sabi po niya, this can supersede itong, actually hindi niya sinabi ng ganong paraan, sinabi lang niya na dahil may red notice na, pwedeng gumalaw na yung Interpol to arrest, to bring him home. Hindi yon, subject pa rin siya to the Dutch authorities if they will allow it. Tama?
Yes, Gretchen, because remember the Interpol, it's really a coordination
Okay.
organization. So that's really the challenge of Interpol. In fact, it's not an international police in the sense na mayroon po silang mga tsapa, mayroon po silang mga armas at pupunta sila all around the world. No. It's really a cooperation agreement with an international organization at its end. Kaya po, it's still subject to the domestic jurisdiction of all the 196 state members.
So to drill it down to its essence, Attorney Harry Roque does have a lot of room and a lot of time before his world gets smaller with this arrest warrant.
Well, I do understand that his passport was cancelled, but let me also bring it to light that as long as the person, I presume the person has a residence card because matagal na rin po siya nandun sa the Netherlands at sa Europe. Kung may residence card, nakaka-travel po yung taong po yun across the Schengen member states. And if I'm not mistaken, there are about 30, I think.
Kung nakakuha na siya, that is assuming nakakuha na siya nito.
I just presume, Gretchen, kasi matagal na rin, since March, nandun po siya, at ngayon, November.
Okay.
So, makaka-travel po ang isang tao na may residence card sa loob po ng isang Schengen area. Pero hindi po siya makakalabas ng Schengen area kasi kailangan niya po ipakita ang passport po.
Okay. But does the cancellation of the passport somehow affect his asylum application?
Well, strictly speaking, from really academic point of view, the asylum application will only look at whether there are reasonable grounds to believe that this person is being persecuted. Persecuted, that's the term. Persecuted because of his or her racial identity, nationality, religious belief, political belief. So, yan po yung magiging basihan under the Refugee Convention. Now, it's up to the state, which the application is before, kung i-consider po yung cancellation of passport. But I understand that the Philippines applied for a cancellation of passport before the RTC para po ma-limit yung pwede pong pag-travelan ng taong po yun.
Okay. So, in short, hindi ito magmamatter. Manakancel yung passport niya, hindi magmamatter ito dun sa asylum proceedings kasi they will still look at the grounds for political persecution.
Well, all I can say it's may or may not matter.
May or may not. Okay.
How will they characterize it? But from the Philippine state's point of view, importante po siya. Yun nga, malimitahan yung pag-travel ng isang tao po for any accused or suspect.
And at this point, what can the Philippine government do to be able to get Harry Roque home?
Well, I think it's really up to the Philippine government through diplomatic channels. So this is where our diplomatic relationships come in with the state of the Netherlands and whether or not we can actually invoke reciprocity with the state of the Netherlands or with the state of Austria. And also, this is where the Philippines has to really study its options. Kasi there's an indication of both international refugee law as well as international human rights law. So, grabe Gretchen, ang daming interplay, interplay ng Philippine domestic law, Dutch domestic law, pwedeng Austrian domestic law, as well as international law.
So it will be definitely a legal challenge, no? Pero kahapon nagkaroon ng konting confusion over what really happened to Harry Roque. Given he posted a photo of his plane ticket, sabi niya binigyan daw siya nitong plane ticket para pumunta ng Austria, pero hindi daw siya pinasakay dahil siya ay unfit to travel. So could he continue to invoke that? And where do you think would it best for him to stay? Would it be in the Netherlands or would it be in Austria?
Okay, Gretchen, once again, I will not give an opinion or advice.
Okay. Sorry. Oo nga pala.
I'm not his lawyer, okay? Let me just be very clear with that. And he's a lawyer himself. Number two, as to the unfit to travel, that's really a medical concern. It's a medical issue, hindi siya legal issue. Ano? Although merong legal ramifications, but that's a medical issue. At based naman sa kanyang public post, yung surgeon niya nagsabi. So, binasi ko lang po sa public post.
Okay.
Yung surgeon niya nagsabi.
Okay. This coming November 28th will be a big day. The ICC Appeals Chamber will deliver its judgment on the appeal of the former President Duterte for interim release. Ano po ang maaari kaya natin asahan at ano po inaabangan niyo po doon?
Well, first and foremost, on the part of the drug war victims, we really hope that the appeals chamber will dismiss the appeal of Duterte as to his interim release. Why? Because we believe that he is a flight risk and that there's really a chance, a probability, that there will be also a risk against the investigation and the prosecution, especially with respect to the victims and the potential witnesses. Now, we're arguing that it should be dismissed because in fact it was a unanimous decision by the pre-trial chamber. All of the three judges actually agreed that the interim release should be denied. And that's what we're hoping for.
Oh, and this is the final response of the ICC chamber to the appeal of defense.
Yes, you're right on that, Gretchen. Ano, kasi this is already at the appeals chamber and based on their own statute, which is
okay.
in a public manner. That's why there's this scheduling order. It's 10:30 a.m. Hague time, but in the Philippines, it's 5:30 p.m. But always remember, there's more or less a 30-minute delay for security purposes. Kaya abangan nyo ng 5:30, pero baka 6 p.m. po talaga ang start ng pagbasa ng appeals chamber.
Makikita ko kaya natin ang dating Pangulo dito kasi live stream din po ito.
Well, it's really up to him, no? Kasi wala naman pong requirement. Sa pagbasa ko po sa appeals chamber at sa rules of procedure and evidence at sa statute, wala naman pong requirement. Pero kung gusto niya, pwede po siyang umattend dahil po siya yung concern po dito.
And this is the same process that will be done for the two other issues related to him, jurisdiction at pati yung kanyang kalusugan. Tama po ba?
Okay. Doon sa jurisdiction, Gretchen, tama ka kasi inappeal po yun. Yung jurisdictional challenge, pagbasura sa jurisdictional challenge, that was appealed by the defense. But as to the fitness to stand trial, the pre-trial chamber has yet to decide on it. Why? Because yung three-person panel of experts, they will submit their report on December 5th. And
Okay. It's coming right up.
And the prosecutor, they have 1 week later or until December 12th to submit their response. So, mukhang it has to be decided pa within this year. I really hope within this December that the trial chamber will decide on the fitness.
Oo, pero pare-pareho po gugulong po yan through the appeals chamber in the same manner.
Assuming, nag-assume tayo na talagang sasabihin ng pre-trial chamber fit na fit to stand trial.
Okay. Understand what you mean.
Mag-appeal pa. So, yun. Very ahead ng question.
Okay, alright. Maraming salamat. Mukhang marami pa tayong aabangan dito. Especially for the coming week. We got Friday for that appeals chamber decision. In the meantime, maraming salamat po for helping us understand the latest from The Hague, even from where you are. Wherever you are. Attorney Gilbert Andres, you have an ICC accredited lawyer representing the victims. And coming right up, Bagong Alyansang Makabayan reiterates its call for President Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte to resign, defending the move as constitutionally sound. And we will discuss that with Bayan Chairperson Teddy Casino when Morning Matters returns. Keep it here. Good morning, I'm Gretchen On. Here in Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. Vice President Sara Duterte says she is prepared to assume the presidency if necessary. She made the remark while attending an AI summit in Davao. The Marcos administration has been hounded by rumors of a coup plot reportedly involving retired military officials. Duterte said she understands it is her constitutional duty to step in if the president is unable to serve.
There is no question about my readiness. Pinesenta ko sa inyo yun, ang sarili ko, at alam ko na first in line ako sa succession. Wala nang tanong doon kung ano ang gagawin ko. Yun ang mandate sa akin ng Constitution.
Bagong Alyansa Makabayan insists its call for President Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte to resign is not unconstitutional. Bayan Secretary General Raymond Palatino said the proposed National Transition Council would be temporary, civilian-led, and time-bound, not a junta. He said its mandate would include cleansing government institutions, restoring public trust, and ensuring future elections are free from dynasties and vote buying. Palatino argued that the 1987 Constitution recognizes resignation as a legitimate and peaceful mode of vacancy if top officials lose moral authority. And joining us today to shed light on this, we have Teddy Casino, chairperson of Bagong Alyansa Makabayan. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Morning, Gretchen.
Welcome back.
Nice to be back.
Okay, una-una, Transition Council. National Transition Council, People's Transitional Council, are this one and the same? And I guess to confirm, that's what you're calling for.
These are just terms for what we essentially describe as a transitional body or a transitional government. If and when President Marcos and Sara Duterte resign.
If and when?
If and when,
They
of
choose
course.
to freely do so.
Or if the people force them to do so, like what happened in 2001 and in 1986. So this is nothing new. We have been through this before.
Didn't that require a withdrawal of support from the military?
Not only the military, I think many institutions would have to take a stand. We are assuming, of course, that it reaches that point, that the people are so fed up with what is happening that they demand the changing the government. But the question always is, ano ipapalit natin? Under the Constitution, if the President and the Vice President resigns, the Senate President takes over, and in 60 days, he holds an election for the President and Vice President. And many of us are saying, mag-election tayo within 60 days. Who will run in those elections? Most probably Marcos again, Duterte again, the same political dynasties will control the whole. So parang, nag-aksaya pa tayo ng oras natin. So, let's find some other way na bago mangyari yung elections na yan, at the minimum, we come up or we implement an anti-dynasty provision or we implement the constitutional provision against political dynasties. That the electoral system becomes more transparent and there are proposals for a hybrid form of electronic elections. And removing the pork barrel system and holding accountable all these corrupt officials. Kasi pag hindi mo ginawa yan, I mean, holding an elections in 60 days, basically as snap elections, I think would do little to solve the problem of corruption and failure of governance in our country.
And what would you do with the House of Representatives?
Well, that is the sticky question. Okay sana kung hindi sila sangkot. Okay sana kung hindi sangkot eh. But nakita naman natin dito sa corruption issue, everyone is involved. You can probably count with your fingers sino ang hindi nag-insert dyan. Sino ang hindi kumikbak dyan. Because it is a system. And it goes all the way up to the president. Kaya that is the sticky question. Do we suspend Congress? Or sila ba'y mananahimik muna in that interim period? But whatever the role of Congress is, we think that there should be a transition body. And we call this a transitional council because that is what it's usually called, even in other countries. And this will be dapat properly represented ang iba't ibang mga sectors dyan. So of course, you will have probably the genuine opposition parties. You will have sectoral representation from workers, farmers, fisherfolk, etc. You will have experts, professionals. Business will I'm sure will be represented there.
And you're looking at how many
Probably
members of that
some
body?
members. I don't know. Just top of my head, I think around 30 to 35 would be a good number, representing a cross-section. Pero may mga, I guess, that would also have bodies. Meron dyan, there would be that council, there would probably be an executive group, probably someone who will magwa-watchdog sa kanila. But we are proposing this so that the groups involved in the anti-corruption campaign can already discuss. Kasi nakakadismaya na para bang ang option natin we just wait this out until 2028. Parang alam na natin ano mangyayari sa 2028. Should we manahimik tayo about President Marcos's involvement just because we are afraid that Sara Duterte will take over? Or will we force Marcos to step down and then si Sara magiging presidente? Parang lahat yon hindi acceptable. And we're finding an alternative way to get out of this mess.
Doesn't that transition council, though, absolve all of the guilty, the ones who already corrupted, siphoned off money?
I think one of its
Kasi parang
main tasks...
magre-resign lang din lahat, mawawala lang din lahat.
One of the main tasks, I think the main task of this transition council is to hold accountable lahat ng involved dito sa flood control and other infrastructure problems, which the current government cannot do.
Hindi ba masyadong bilib naman po kayo dito sa magiging transition council? I mean, when human nature does dictate somehow, I mean, if there is a vacuum, that there will be some sort of a power grab. And how do you make sure that doesn't happen here? Even if they are representatives, supposedly, of their sectors.
Well, I trust the Filipino people. I trust that if the movement is strong enough, the military will not step in and grab power. They will respect the civilian authority. I am expecting that the political parties will see that this is a better option than two factions of the military and the Duterte factions getting at each other's throats. So naghahanap tayo ng, in a way, constitutional but not purely constitutional option.
This is in good faith.
Yes. I mean, pinagdaanan natin yung EDSA 1. In EDSA 1 nga, revolutionary government pa nga ang dineclare ni Cory Aquino noon. But that was a result of the people power uprising. So, itong option na ito, I think, this option will only be possible and realistic if there is that scenario of a people power type.
Civil society
unites behind it and forces the hand of those in power.
And
otherwise, yes, of course, that includes the church, that includes the military, that would include all other institutions.
But do you think this idea has that kind of support? I mean, we do remember and recall very strongly that both the Marcos and Duterte camps garnered majority support from the Filipino people.
Yes.
Kung baga malalakas to, hindi to biro.
But
Hindi mo sila matatanggal sa eksena ng...
Ang tingin namin by this time, people have realized that it's not a choice between Marcos and Duterte because both camps have been involved in all these types of corruption and misgovernance. When we say Sara, hindi lang naman siya yung dynasty niya, no? These are the two most powerful political dynasties. And I think people are fed up with political dynasties. Ang question na lang, what alternative do we offer? Yun ang hindi namin makita sa so far. I mean, yung panawagan na lahat dapat managot, that's okay. But it will reach to that point na we have to change.
Ano bang choice?
Yes, and we have to change the kind of governance that we have. Kasi otherwise, we will just be left with a Napoles-type conviction. Probably si Saldico, one or two congressmen or senators. Then after a few years, pakakawalan din, magiging senador ulit. Tingin ko hindi nakatanggap-tanggap yan. And hopefully, if the various groups unite on some kind of a roadmap towards this, people will realize na ganyan na ang kailangan natin. Kasi
Now, explain to us why this is not extra-constitutional. This proposal.
I would call it a hybrid. Kasi one, pwede namang constitutional succession pa rin. Kasi the Senate President is a constitutional successor.
So, okay lang sa'yo si Tito Soto, Senate President Tito Soto?
Alam mo, it will...
Kasi pwede rin magbago yun.
Correct. It's the position eh. It can be Bato de la Rosa, I don't know. But magdidesisyon na Senado dyan. Now,
yes.
but, kaya nga ang inaano namin, that person should create, package yan, dapat may transition council siya. And this transition council should be inclusive, it should be representative of our people and the various sectors nakasama dito sa pagpapalit ng gobyerno. And
that would be
that would serve as a check
right?
and balance. Well,
Wala siya sa konstitusyon natin.
He can issue an
provision na
executive
ganyan.
order. It can be formed through an executive order. It's a council. Hindi naman siya junta eh. Hindi naman siya I mean, it is silent in the Constitution, but the President can create bodies anyway. Ngayon, ang question niyan, how will that relate to the policy-making body, which is Congress? Ang problema nga natin sa Congress ngayon, lahat sila ay suspect eh. And they themselves are under investigation on this.
So, for sure, in this proposal of yours, Bayan's proposal, hindi sila ang magpapasa ng anti-political dynasty.
Again, it depends. One option is that Transition Council,
sila na mag-decide.
they will now push Congress. They will pressure Congress. Ito na yung gusto naming anti-dynasty bill, pass that. And then the people will pressure Congress
Assuming
to do it.
that they can pressure Congress.
Correct.
Medyo mahirap po ata yung
or the other
natin.
hand, you close down Congress and trust these people enough to implement the kind of anti-political dynasty bill that we all want, that even the Speaker of the House says is needed, but they have not acted for the last 40 years. Tingin naman natin, lahat nag-agree that there needs to be anti-dynasty legislation.
Yes.
It's just a matter of political will. So, Transition Council na gumawa. And then hold an elections with that framework. And then that new elections should be clean, should be credible. And finally, we can have an election that is not dominated by political dynasties and vested interests. So that is the alternative that we are putting on the table. We hope that this will be discussed and thoroughly by all groups involved. Kasi parang hindi namin matake na hanggang 2028, ganito lang tayo eh. And I'm sure itong bangayan na ito, magtutuloy-tuloy pa ito after 2028. And we will, 5-6 years from now, another scandal will explode and we will be asking the same questions. Paulit-ulit na lang ito, which has been going on for the last 40 years. So we hope that people think out of the box this time.
Will Bayan be part of the trillion peso movement this coming Sunday?
We have our own activity at the Luneta. This is with the Kilusang Bayan Kontra Kurakot. So just like September 21, there will be two major activities on November 30 here in Metro Manila. One in Luneta, program starts at 9 o'clock. At EDSA, I think there will be a mass at 10, but I think the main program will be in the afternoon. So,
Kasi
halos
kahapon,
pareho naman ang calls dyan eh.
Ibinalita namin kahapon na ayaw daw nitong trillion peso movement to call for the resignation of either the president or the vice president because it might create a leadership vacuum.
Yes.
So,
Sa Luneta,
sino naman po yung grupo na gano'n ng sentimiento?
sa Luneta, all calls are welcome. We did not impose on participants na ito lang ang pwede nating sabihin. Sabi namin, kung tingin nyo may mga dapat managot, pangalanan nyo. And then let's discuss. And then the program will reflect that range of sentiments. I think the organizers of the EDSA March are very conscious na hindi pwedeng i-criticize si President Marcos out of fear na papalit si Vice President Duterte. Pero
So medyo politically neutral.
Yes, ang gusto nila generic lang. Generic basta anti-corruption, political dynasty yun lang. No names. We feel kung sinasabi natin may dapat managot, pangalanan natin sino managot. And from the bottom to the top, no sacred cows. Kasi this is an opportunity na mabago na natin yung sistema, tapos sasabihin natin, hindi, huwag na si Marcos. Kasi baka pumalit si Sara. Accountability hinahanap natin. So medyo hindi magkasundo doon sa ganong what the organizer said were non-negotiable. Hindi kayo pwede magdala ng streamers placards na may Marcos dyan. So sabi namin, since hindi tayo magkasundo, let's just have two separate activities. Basta sa Luneta, sabi namin, anything goes. Kung anong gusto nyong panawagan, just a warning, wag lang kayong manawagan na bring him home or
so kasama niyo mga
Duterte palitan si Marcos, medyo
ang pro-Duterte supporters, will they be at the Luneta rally?
I don't think they will be able to tolerate the messages of that rally. So, but they are welcome, pero wag nilang pilitin yung kanilang panawagan na gawing presidente si Sara. Because ang point nung Luneta rally, we don't want Marcos. We also don't want Sara because we haven't forgotten the confidential intelligence funds and the fact that she was impeached by Congress. Tineknikal lang sila kaya hindi natuloy yung trial sa Senado. But that has not been forgotten. And so it is unacceptable for those who will go to Luneta that mag-resign si BBM papalit si Sara. Again, if there are calls to resign, it should be both. But many of those in Luneta, simple lang ang message namin, lahat ng sangkot dapat managot. Some groups aabot hanggang Bongbong, some groups aabot lang hanggang kay Bryce Hernandez. That's okay. And we should listen to all the messages and all the sentiments of our people.
Now, speaking of levels, kung saan umaabot itong flood control probe, kahapon, nag-release ng statement na naman si Congressman Zaldico saying that the first son is also involved in insertions. Ang claim niya ay
How much?
Nag-insert na at least 50 billion pesos worth of public works projects in the 2023, 2024, and 2025 budgets.
Yeah.
How do you think this should be pursued? I mean, una-una, no, parang, do you believe in Zaldico and him becoming the sudden hero and whistleblower?
I think Zaldico just confirms what many of us think has been happening in Congress for a long time. Alam mo yung 50 billion figure na yan, if you recall, si Pulong Duterte, who was the son of President Duterte, also had 50 billion worth of infrastructure projects in his district in Davao. And a few weeks ago, nilabas nga ni ACT Teachers Party List Congressman Antonio Tino, yung mga napakaraming red flags dun sa mga projects, sa mga insertions ni Pulong Duterte when his father was president. So, baka pag anak ka ng presidente, may 50 billion ka na kaagad every year in your district for what kind of projects that you have. Because it sounds really familiar. At yun nga ang nangyayari naman ngayon has always been happening. Even when I was in Congress, way back, I was there for 9 years. Ang pinag-uusapan na lang na ngayon yung scale, the magnitude, and the amounts. But the system has always been in place. First, there was PDAF, DAP, and then inabolish ng Congress yun because of the Supreme Court ruling. So now, pinasok na nila itong insertions, itong allocables, itong commitment that they call. But it's basically, nag-evolve lang yan. But it's a system.
Nakakahanap lang ng ibang paraan.
It's a pork barrel system, a system of dividing the spoils. At may nakakalamang dyan, syempre, yung malapit sa presidente, yan ang pinaka-nakakalamang. Sino pa bang lalapit sa presidente kundi yung anak, di ba? That's why Pulong Duterte had so much. Sandro Marcos probably had so much. That is believable, I think. And I think Zaldico came up with the records. Nasa budget naman yan Ang problema nga natin, itong mga bagay na ito, tinatago yan. And the public never sees those line items that are insertions, allocables, and whatever term they use.
What would it...
that goes to the congressmen and to the senators.
What would it take...
Presumably with kickbacks.
For this administration to change your mind, to move away from that transition council proposal? Kasi, I guess the question is, are we at the boiling point already that people would would clamor for a transition council away from their usual political dynasty.
Right.
Kasi nakikita natin ngayon si Presidente, lagi na lang siya may update sa umaga.
Buti naman.
Somehow,
And I think the protests are fueling that.
Is it that diffusing also the anger of the public? Kasi kahit papaano may update. May nangyayari.
I think the efforts now of the President is meant to quell the people's anger. Whether that happens or not will depend. Kasi ang dami pang lumalabas na bago. Itong isaldi ko. And he has receipts. Kaya lang, ayaw tanggapin ng ICI, ayaw tanggapin ng Ombudsman kasi daw hindi siya umuwi. But these are records. Yung sinabi niyang deliveries niya, pwede mo i-check sa CCTV yan. Totoo bang may na-deliver sa ganitong address, sa ganitong araw? And the people mentioned by Saldico can be invited by the ICI or the Ombudsman, but they're not doing it. And that lumalakas ang suspetsya ng taong bayan. Now, the question, i-atras ba namin ito and what should Marcos do para i-atras ito? I think the ball is not in Malacanang's court. The ball is with the people. Binabato namin ito sa publiko, and if the people decide that this is the right way to go and that we are able to build a strong movement making these demands, then ganun yon. Kung hindi ito mag-catch fire and the people say, okay na lang, Marcos na lang tayo muna, ganun. Ay, kami naman, bahagi lang kami ng mamamayan. No? But I think it is an idea that should be out there in the open. Kasi ngayon, actually pinag-uusapan naman yan, pero hush-hush. No? And people are scared kasi baka
sabihan na
sedition yan, unconstitutional. What we are saying is that the demands for resignation is not unconstitutional. A transition council of some sort is not unconstitutional. May flexibility naman dyan. But these alternatives should be on the table. Because in other countries, they have done that. There have been many cases of successful transition governments to resolve issues pag hindi na maayos ng kasalukuyang sistema yung problema. And I think this is one of those
We're running out of time,
situations.
Pero what is that country? Para lang we can,
Well, top of my
do
head,
our
I can mention South Africa.
Okay.
Korea, South Korea for a time had a transition council between dictatorship and democracy. Poland, yung solidarity movement, eventually naging transition, yung kanila. I think some African countries also had experiences with that. So, Google.
Yes. Okay. So, abangan namin kayo this coming November 30.
Yes po.
Sa inyong tawag dito nga po sa pagbabago sa ating gobyerno, whatever form that may be from the groups there over at the Luneta. Maraming salamat for your time today
Thank you,
and for
Gretchen.
explaining that to us. We have Teddy Casino, Chairperson of Bagong Alyansang Makabayan. And coming right up, the Presidential Commission for the Urban Poor will spearhead the nationwide Urban Poor Solidarity Week. The event will highlight collaborative efforts between government, organizations, and urban poor sectors to foster inclusive growth and community. All that and more when Morning Matters returns. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here in One News. The Presidential Commission for the Urban Poor will lead this year's Urban Poor Solidarity Week in various parts of the country. It kicks off on November 26 to 27 in Barobo, Surigao del Sur, and 29 to 30 in Zamboanga City. The main events are scheduled for December 2 in Quezon City, December 3 in Island Garden City of Samal, December 4 in San Fernando, Pampanga, and Cotabato City, and will conclude on December 5 in Cebu City. Under the theme, Sama-sama sa Pag-alpas sa Bagong Pilipinas, the week highlights collaboration among government agencies, partner organizations, and urban poor groups who promote community development and inclusive growth. Activities will also showcase the Alpas Comunidad flagship project, demonstrating PCUP's commitment to empowering urban poor communities and addressing poverty nationwide. Joining us now to talk about this event, we have Undersecretary Michelle Ann Gonzalez, Chairperson and CEO of the Presidential Commission for the Urban Poor, who is currently in Barobo, Surigao del Sur. Magandang umaga po sa inyo.
Good morning, and having us.
Okay, Yusek, unang-una ho, what is happening today? I believe today is the official opening of that week, Solidarity Week, and what is the main purpose of this celebration?
So for this year's celebration of our Urban Port Solidarity Week, we decided to have it nationwide. Usually sa NCR lang, but this time, ng ating Pangulo to reach far-flung areas, we decided to have the celebrations in different areas and as far-flung areas as possible para maramdaman naman nila yung celebration. So we're kicking off today here in Barobo, Surigao. This is the first time they're gonna experience the celebration here. We'll be having accreditations of urban poor organizations. We'll be giving awards to our natatanging Lingkod Maralita awardee and our champions for the urban poor. Then we also have mga gift packs for them and a lot of other activities for our urban poor here in Surigao.
Oo. Pero ano po ang ibig sabihin ng Solidarity Week? Why come together in this way?
Okay. Actually, this is the Presidential Proclamation 367 that declares the first week of December na kung saan mag-celebrate ang urban poor. Well, actually, hindi masyado napapansin, no? Pero napakalaking sector talaga nitong urban poor sector. Actually, sa amin sa PCUP, we've accredited since the beginning around 6.6 million individuals na urban poor. So this is pagkilala sa kanila sa sektor na ito na magsama-sama to discuss, to come together and make them feel important also. Discuss all the concerns kung paano pa kami makakatulong sa kanila. And to make them feel important na hindi sila nakakalimutan ng gobyerno.
And when they get themselves accredited as part of this sector, ano po yung bagay tulong na ihahatid natin sa kanila?
Ang mandato po kasi ng PCUP is we are the direct link between the poor and the government. So kami rin po yung nag-accredit ng urban poor organizations. So when accredited, well, before they get accredited, let's say may isang organisasyon, hindi pa sila organized, tulungan namin sila mag-organize. We teach them how to have officers para meron naman silang lead. And then we accredit them. Once they're accredited, we conduct our activities to them, like we conduct livelihood trainings, capacity building trainings, and then we link them to different agencies depending on the needs of the community. That's why we launched this Alpas Comunidad flagship program. It's a holistic approach to social preparation. Tugon namin to sa whole of nation approach. It's called Alpas. At least this is a checklist for us to what we can do in every urban poor organization. A, meaning access, meaning we link them to different national agencies. Let's say they need kabuhayan, we link them to DOLE. They need training, we link them to PESDA. Pagkakalusugan, we endorse them to DSWD. And then L, livelihood and kabuhayan, again, we partner with DOLE and other agencies to be able to give them skills, livelihood trainings, and those stuff para makasimula sila ng hanap buhay nila. And then P is pabahay, because may mga urban poor organizations, they reach a point na nagmamature na sila, naturuan na namin sila ng mga karapatan nila, meron na rin silang financial literacy, tas kaya na nila pumasok sa isang housing program. We link them na to DSHU, to NHA, or to SHAFC, so they can avail of the expanded 4PH program of the government. And then letter A, agrikultura, because we promote urban farming para may of food naman yung bawat communities, para hindi makabawas din sa kanilang gastusin. And then letter S is sustainability. This is where we monitor their progress, especially yung mga relocatives, kamusta ba yung mga bahay na na-turn over sa kanila, kalagayan nila, binabaha ba sila, nahihirapan ba sila. And aside from that, sustainability, we also help in lobbying laws that will improve existing laws, like the Urban Development and Housing Act, yung best practices, nakikita namin yung mga provisions na kailangan i-improve, then we lobby that in Congress.
Oo. And ano po ulit yung A? Sorry ho?
Access.
Access. Okay. So, ito po, how long, para po siyang program that the urban poor has to go through? Para 4Ps, they're 4Ps. Parang ganun pong version. Oo. And
kasi in the same way that we accredit urban poor organizations, ang pangarap namin, makagraduate din sila. Hindi sila ever na urban poor. So, since PCUP is the direct link, we try to put these factors in. So, para maging sustainable sila, self-reliant, resilient. So, we try as much as we can to put in all these factors in every urban poor organization. Of course, we will always be the access. Whatever they need, they can always go to PCUP, so we could link them to respective national agencies kung saan yung pangangailangan nila. And then the livelihood na, tuloy-tuloy yan, we link them also. Like now, next week, we're very excited because DOLE will be giving us so many negosyo packages, carinderia packages, barbecue packages that we will be giving to different urban poor organizations in NCR. And then, like in yung mga tatamaan ng mga government infra, like tatamaan ng South Long Haul projects ng DOTR, yung mga relocatives, we're also very thankful to DOLE dahil nag-extend naman sila ng mga tupad para makatulong sa mga tao. Yung ganon, we link the poor with the existing programs of the government.
Ibig sabihin ho, kung ako po ay nangangailangan ng tulong medikal o tulong pinansyal, pwede akong pumunta dito po sa inyong Solidarity Week and apply.
Opo. Yes.
Oo.
Actually, marami pong pumupunta sa office, mga nasa ospital or ooperahan or yung mga service po ng DSWD. Ang dami-dami programs ng DSWD. So from PCUP, we give them an endorsement and then they go to DSWD and then they're catered there. Tinutugon na naman po ng DSWD yung mga pangangailangan nila. AICS, financial help, medical assistance, burial assistance, tumutulong po ang DSWD basta endorse ng PCUP.
Okay. The president has a goal of reducing poverty to 9% by the end of his term. Where are we on that? And what has proven to be successful in the first 3.5 years?
Ang poverty incidence rate natin as of 2020, I'm not mistaken, 2022 is already 11.8, is down to 11.8%. And hopefully by 2028, single digit na lang. So, we try to work all these urban poor organizations, address their problems, especially with regards to housing. Kasi ako, as a chair of PCUP, I believe, ang talaga, one measure of talagang pag-angat ng kabuhayan or poverty is if you get your own roof, may sarili kang pabahay at hindi ka na informal settlers. So, now naman po ay sinusulong na natin 4PH, expanded 4PH, yung iba-ibang modalities ng housing. So, pag na-implement na lahat ito, plus all the interventions of government. The SWD has so many interventions. We have 4PH, yung mga Tantawid Gutom, and a lot of other programs. Aangat na. Ay mababawasan palalo yung public incidents. And SWD has that, yung pagbaba ng number of nagugutom at natutulungan.
There is a change in leadership over at the Department of Housing. Ito si former Secretary Jerry Acuzar, nung panahon niya, itinutulak niya yung mga condominium na pwede kang mag-avail of, bayaran mo ng hulugan. What is the update on that? Tuloy pa rin po ba yun? And because there have been much sentiment about the urban poor's inability to afford pa rin kahit mas mura ito. At ano yung mga nangyari dun sa mga pabahay na naiwan na nakatiwangwang? I mean, has that been somehow linked to the demand for housing?
Actually, yung 4PH during the time of Secretary Jerry Acuzar, and remember it right, ito yung 4PH condo type. I think mas mahal nga yan, Ms. Gretchen, kaya hindi siya talagang naging popular amongst the beneficiaries. Kaya nga, Secretary Aliling, pinalik nila yung ibang modalities. Lahat na nung klaseng modalities ng housing, pwede na ulit. But the people kasi, experience namin sa urban core, they really push for yung people's plan na gusto nilang set up ng pabahay. But ngayon nga, SHAFC is very active in building homes, Pag-ibig also. But again, kulang na kulang din talaga. We're working closely with Congresswoman Popular, the chair of the Housing Committee in Congress, na she's really lobbying for an increase in budget for housing. Kasi as of now, aside from the housing allocation of NHA for administrative demolitions, administrative misgretchen meaning yung mga tatamaan ng government infra, kulang pa. Eh meron pang hawak kami from PCUP, yung mga court-ordered cases, mapupuyo. Now we have 25,000 court-ordered cases, meaning that's 25,000 families na wala pang allotment ng pabahay. Kaya ganun din, kalaki yung problema na kailangan i-address. We really need more funding for housing programs.
Oo, tama ho kayo, no? Kasi ginawan po namin yan ng dokumentaryo at doon nga po ay natagpuan na talagang kulang na kulang ang budget, lalong-lalo na doon sa demand na pataas ng pataas. So again, we invite everybody to visit the Solidarity Week. Saan po itong mga lugar?
Have now in Barobo, Surigao, and then we'll have in Zamboanga, then Quezon City, then we'll have in Samal, San Fernando, Pampanga, Cotabato, and in Cebu City. But aside from these big celebrations, you also have localized celebrations. We're expecting 2,000 urban poor organizations to participate in the celebration. 2,000 urban poor times around 200 average per urban poor. That's around 400,000 families times 5. That's around 2 million urban poor individuals celebrating this week for the Urban Poor Solidarity Week 2025.
Okay, sama-sama sa pag-alpas para sa bagong Pilipinas as the theme says for the Solidarity Week. Maraming salamat for telling us all about that event and sana po marami pa pong matulungan ng inyong grupo. We have Undersecretary Michelle Ann Gonzalez, Chairperson and CEO of the Presidential Commission for the Urban Poor.
Thank you.
And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the day matter. My name is Gretchen Ho. Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time.